Hello everyone and welcome to my little corner of the internet. My name's Michael and I'm bitten by a radioactive book. So when you go on an hiatus on booktube for like almost 6 years, then you get the chance to do some formats that nobody else can do. And one of those formats, is something I want to bring to you today. And these are my top 10 books of the years 2018 to 2022. So we always get like the top 2 books of each year, so that we don't have like a large video. And while talking through the books, I also talk you a little bit through my life, so you can see glimpses of what happened and why it might have been a good reading year or bad reading year. Yeah, I think that's about all the explanation for this video, so let's get into it. First off, 2018 was a year of gaming, I'd say. I did as well as I did last year with reading about 35 books, but it was a year where we had lots of great games coming out. I think the first Spider-Man came out, first God of War, stuff like that. So I did a lot of gaming in this year, but also some decent reads came in. And so my second book, or my runner-up book of 2018, is actually Queen of Swords by R.S. Belcher. I think that is a series that most of the people haven't heard of that much. I think I was the only one back in the day talking about it on YouTube. Is the Golgotha series, and it's a Weird West series. The cover and the title would never hint you in that direction. It's the third and final installment of this series, and in this series where we're following a little town, a little Wild West town, and in the first 2 books we have a couple of different varying points of views, and one of the main fun things for me in this series is that within this town of Golgotha, everyone has his little or her little supernatural secret. And so it's fun to find out what the characters are about, what are like their arcs, and it is a very highly recommended series overall. And now in Queen of Swords we take one character. I won't go into specifics because it might be a little bit spoilery, but we take one character, and she is on the lookout for her daughter, and she hails down from the line of the pirate queen Anne Bonny, and so we're getting a little bit of like high seas entertainment as well. And it was a very, very unique take within the series, because we are abandoning a lot of the other characters that we had so far and really focusing on one of the fan favorites of the series, and I really enjoyed that. And so it made my number 2 spot. And in number 1 this year we have, and now I have to look up the name, it's by Robert Jackson Bennett. It's The City of Miracles. It's the also third and final installment in his Divine City series that started out with City of Stairs. And we have kind of similar but different structure as with R.S. Belcher's series, because in the Divine City series every book is technically a standalone, but you should read them in order because you have like reoccurring characters, and now in the 3rd book we tie up some things that we didn't know we need to tie up. And it is from the perspective of Sigurd, who's like a Viking berserker kind of character, who was one of the side characters in mainly the 1st book, The City of Stairs. And with Robert Jackson Bennett we have like a highly imaginative world that is grounded a lot in its kind of own reality. So it's not like you get like over the top fantasy things or elements. You get one, two, three like very distinctive things, but those are always like really well thought through. And this is what I highly appreciate by the author. Which reminds me that I still he's more popular for his Foundryside series at the moment, and I still need to read Lachlan's, the third book in the series, so that might happen this year. And what definitely will happen is that I'm going to read the first book in his new series, The Tainted Cup, which will hit the shelves February 6th, I think. So, from 2018, we're moving into 2019, which saw me taking up more responsibilities within my job. We also like had another like decent gaming year where the balance between gaming and reading was like very good. And so also I think I finished 36 books in this year. And I've had 2 5-star reads between these 36 books, and so these are my top 2. And the number 2 spot goes to Age of Iron by Angus Watson. I think that is also not a well-known series. It's a grimdark series. It almost reads like historical fantasy because it's set in the kind of Celtic environment, and it has very much, or a very it's a low fantasy setting, so there's not many like really fantasy elements, as we've come to know with authors like Joe Abercrombie. These are character driven stories with like high stakes for these people, but maybe not that much for like the kingdoms and things like that. And this is why I mentioned Joe Abercrombie, might be the series that reminds me the most of his kind of work, because there's also a great sense of humor in the series. This was one of the books I laughed out loud a couple of times, and that seldom happens. I'm more of a smirky, I appreciate this kind of humor reader normally, but that had me like in stitches 2 or 3 times at least. And so I've never followed up with this series. I don't really know why, because it's excellent and I gave it 5 stars, so probably I should reread it at some point and then like finish off this series, because it's so good. Now I'm telling you it's so good, and don't tell you about what it is about. So we're following like 2 characters, Duck and Loa, and Duck mainly wants to survive in like an upcoming conflict of like kingdoms or tribes, and stumbles upon like one misfortune after the other. And Loa is like a female warrior character that wants to take revenge for something that happens in the beginning of the book. I don't want to spoil that, although it's like on the back cover, but I think it's better if you not know about it. Yeah, and so we see the path of these 2 cross during the book, especially the first time when the path crosses. It's highly entertaining. Yeah, so as I said, it's a highly recommended series if you're into grimdark fiction. A highly recommended series that you already know from my 10 series I'd like to finish this year, but not for grimdark, more for like epic fantasy, is A Chorus of Dragons by Jen Lyons. And the first book in the series, The Ruin of Kings, was my book of the year in 2019. We follow the character of Kirin in this book, and we have a very interesting narrative structure, because half of the book, like it's almost like every other chapter, is told from his point of view, and he starts with his story at some point in time, and the other half of the series is told by his interrogator, a demon called Talon. And she thinks he's not telling the story right and starts at another point. And so in time, and of course each of them has their like own narrative voice. We often have like small footnotes where the narrator of the story explains something from their kind of view as well. So you see, we are playing a lot with like different structures here, and Kieran's life story is very interesting, and this book sets up a world that is going to like explode in scope over the course of the series, with like multiple different kind of experiments in like the structure. We always have people telling the story in every book, but it's different people. We have them in different circumstances where at the point in the story they tell what came before. And so we have like very interesting narrators, and yeah, as I said, in scope, this is a very character driven series, although the scope gets really big with gods and different reborn characters and things like that. And yeah, I think I said it in the 10 series that I want to finish video. It might be one of the most intelligently plotted series that I've ever come across, and definitely one of the best and underrated series from my point of view that we had in the last couple of years. And I'm really looking forward. I'm just like started the fourth book, The House of Always, and want to finish the series in the first half of 2024, because at July 9th, I think, Jan Lyon's new series starts, and I want to have the Chorus of Dragons wrapped up then. Now let's go into 2020. I think most of you, of course, will know. Oh, that's the year the pandemic started, and so that was like, I think, a good reading year for a lot of people, but not for me. So mainly for the most part of the year, I had still go to work in presence into the office. So I didn't have that like large part of like home office and feeling of isolation there. It was also once again a good gaming year, and it was a really bad year for reading. So I've finished like about 12 books in the year. None of them was a 5-star read. Half of them were like Warhammer 40k, like very pulpy reads. Although not all of them. I've read one or two Horus Heresy books that are I think really well done. I've not read like many of them, like maybe the first 5, but they are also like really good. It's an interesting timeline. I think in the world of Warhammer 40k. But none of them made the list. I just want to mention those. So we have 2 4-star reads, and one of them being The Emberblade by Chris Wooding. Think that had a slight peak around maybe the end of 2020 or beginning of 2021 on BookTube SFF, with a couple of people reading it. I've read very mixed reviews, or saw many mixed like videos of it, and I know that this book is not for everyone, and it had its like length. it's an 800 something like book, and there are like some scenes that tend to move on and on and on. We're stuck in certain places for a couple of time, and that can be annoying. But on the other hand, we get a really slow burning coming of age fantasy story where we follow Aaron, and Aaron is part of an occupied country where like another country came and like changed or tried to change the culture of the land. They're ruling over them, and Aaron is more on the that's kind of a okay side, and that is how it is. And then of course during the course of the books things happen that might lead to him changing his opinion. And that was by far not a perfect book, but an enjoyable book that made the number 2 spot, and I got on it got 4 stars. I enjoyed it. My personal disappointment is that it's by Chris Wooding. And Chris Wooding wrote the Tales of the Caddy J series, which is one of my all-time favorite fantasy series. I think I'm going to make a video of my top 10 fantasy series as of right now, because I think I haven't done this, maybe not at all, or if I did it, it's like 10 years ago. So we should do this at some point in the future on the channel. But Tales of the Caddy J is a series that I adored. I think that it's quartered with like 4 books, and I gave I think only the third got like a 4-star rating, and I've rated the other 3 like 5 stars. It's a very great series about a crew of misfits on a steam airship, kind of a pirate crew, and it's amazing, and it's one of my all-time favorite series. So I expected something like this, like multiple point of view, and a lot of banter, fun, interesting, like characters. And I've got more this kind of slow burning, coming of age, more traditional kind of story by Chris Wooding, and I had hoped for something different, but for what it wanted to be, I think it was still like a very well executed book. So, moving into the book of the year for 2020, it's Kenwes Reach by Ian C. Esselmont. And now I've made it through the first 4 videos without ever mentioning Malazan Book of the Fallen. And now that changes, because it's, spoiler alert, my all-time favorite series. This book is by Ian C. Esselmont. So he's the co-creator of the Malazan world together with Stephen Erickson. So Stephen Erickson and the main series, the Malazan Book of the Fallen, is what most people think of and talk about on BookTube, the 10 very big books, when they talk about Malazan. And it's, yeah, as I said, it's my all-time favorite series of all time. I can't imagine the sheer number of characters and points of views, like 300, that Stephen Erickson put into this 10-book series, like the philosopher concepts that were like talked about, what he did, like with structure, with ideas, with imagination. It's amazing. And Ian C. Esselmont is part of this as well, and he never gets this credit, because I think compared between the two of them, he is the lesser established writer between them, because Erickson is so good and Esselmont is good. and he is a vital part of the Malazan universe, because he actually invented a lot of the things that we're talking about. And between like Esselmond and Ericsson, we have like a split of things that they do. Like Esselmond is the expert on the Malazan Empire in itself, and he's also the expert for the Crimson Guard mercenaries that we're seeing a lot through the series as well. And so he has like a 6-book series that accompanies the Malazan Book of the Fallen, and like brings it to another conclusion of some of the like threats. And he also has a series which is called, and I have to look that up now, the Path to Ascendancy, and this focuses on the past of Callanvat and Dancer, and how they actually come to found the Malazan Empire, and how they hire the other people like the Crust Brothers, or like Lysine, or many other characters that you get to know throughout the Malazan world. Yeah, and so this is one of these elements of the series. I don't want to get into like spoilers. If you've never read Malazan, you won't even know what I'm talking about. But if you know, you know. And yeah, this is like a very interesting book, and it wasn't quite a 5-star read, but a very enjoyable 4-star for me. So, Book of the Year 2020. Towards the end of 2020, I actually changed my job. So I went to another company, did something different than I did before, and in 2021 that also had an impact on my reading. So why is that? Because in 2021 we had a time for about 4 months where I had to travel to another town in Germany, which is like 300 kilometers away from where I live, and take over for somebody who had fallen sick for like about 4 months, and but I never like totally moved into this city. So my routine was something like, on Monday morning I went into the car, drove like 300 kilometers to the south, then did my work week there while living in a hotel, and then Friday early afternoon stepped back into the car, drove the 300 kilometers back, and spent the weekend at home. So with that much driving and that much time spent in the hotel in the evenings, I did a lot of reading. And so with 43 books, 2021 was the best reading year in terms of quantity that I've read, and we had some very high quality books I've read as well. And I've read 5-star books. Yeah, the number 2 spot for 2021 is rewarded to Luna New Moon by Ian MacDonald. I have to tell the story of Luna New Moon by telling you the story of why I'm not as hyped for one of the BookTube SFF darling series from the last couple of years, which is Fondalis The Greenbone Saga. I've read this in 2022, I think, only the first book, Jade City, and it was okay. I think I rated it 3 stars, and a lot of people like really praised, oh, this is the Godfather in an urban fantasy setting with great characters, and yeah, and it was like it was that, but maybe not for me. And one of the things why I'm telling you this is what happened reading Greenbone Saga. I always thought like, but I've read this story and so much better. And this is Lunar New Moon, because we have like a very similar setup that we're following a family, the Corta family, who come from Brazil but are now on the moon. So it's a sci-fi story, and they are one of the like 5 leading trading houses that are almost like ruling the moon like royalty. And of course we have then conflicts coming up with the other houses. And so this is part Game of Thrones on the moon, and part like The Godfather on the moon as well, with very deep character dives into the characters. We have like Ariana Corta, I think she's called, which is the matriarch of the family, and like her children who are running the business or running away from the business. Yeah, and Ariane is a great character as well. So we sometimes get like a chapter flow where we see within a chapter different points of views from one of the children, and then all of a sudden there is like an event where Ariana decides to tell somebody else like her life story, and then we get these very long chapters interspersed within the rest of the narrative, where we see like how she grew up and became the person that she got. And so we basically get like 2 novels for the price of one, because one is a very great like in-depth character story of this matriarch, but on the other hand we get this like high stakes character driven but also very plot intense shenanigans on a Game of Thrones kind of level on the moon. And yeah, I always compared that to when I read like the Jade City, the Greenbone books, and I always was like, I wish that would be a little bit more like Lunar New Moon. So I would say now, on the other hand, of course, if you enjoyed the Greenbone saga, then I would recommend to pick up Lunar New Moon. The only thing that could like bring you from this would be like if you say, oh, I'm not into sci-fi, because it's sci-fi on the moon, and it is like very interesting concepts of society. People have to are paid in like oxygen and water, and people that are poor only get like very limited resource to these limited resources, or limited access to these limited resources, and that is like a very interesting social concept in this world. Yeah, but other than that, if you say, hey, sci-fi is something that I enjoy as well, or that I have nothing against, then this is a fantastic story. So, with me talking so much about Lunar New Moon, what could be the book that even tops that and be the book of the year in 2021? And this is Helm of Midnight by Marina Losteller. I've seen that pop up here and there on booktube SFF, but I think it's like also a lesser known series. The series isn't finished yet. The second book came out last year. I think it's called The Cage of Dark Hours, and I've read this last year as well. And Helm of Midnight, once again, is a book that plays a lot with narrative structure, because we are following 3 different timelines. We're following Krona, our main character of the series, who is an investigator in a fantasy world, which has some very interesting concepts. Same as actually with Lunar New Moon, we have interesting concepts with limited resources, because in this world there's only 5 city-states, and they are circumvented. No, circumvented is the wrong word. Encircled by some kind of invisible whale border, and behind that there seem to be creatures and horrors living there, where the gods try to shelter the humans. But this is not what this first book is mainly about. We're following Krona, as I said, in one of the timelines in a world where you have to pay a time tax or an emotion tax. So you can when you're a baby, some of your lifetime is pulled away from you by magic. Let's call it magic. And it's worth or melted into a kind of currency, and so you always pay with a little bit amount of lifetime. So you buy something to eat and you spend 5 seconds, or you buy a sword and it costs 15 minutes or something like that. And so the rich people are people that can amass a lot of money, and then towards the end of their life turn that money back into lifetime, and so prolong their stay in the world. So that is a very interesting concept. They're doing something similar with emotions. And we also have a system, a magic system, where death masks are made from people, and these death marks inherit some of the more prominent skills that somebody had. So you can put on a mask, and then you get some of the abilities that these person had in the past, or some insights. But it's dangerous, because the consciousness of the dead person might overwhelm you, and so the use of these masks is restricted. And Krona, who is some kind of police enforcer here, is able to wear one of those masks, because the guard she belongs to can use these masks to investigate crimes. And this is what she does. And then we get 2 other narratives, because we have a serial killer, and we have 2 other narratives. One is of a side character in this first timeline, and we see her live 2 years ago, before I think the murders start. And we're also seeing the time where the actual serial killer, whose mask is used in the Now Murder story, did his serial killing spree, or what led him to this. And these kind of 3 narratives work very, very well together. This is a well-earned machine, where you always get one breadcrumb here, one breadcrumb here, and you need to start thinking and putting the things back together again. And this is brilliant. I love the world, I love all the systems, and this is a highly recommended series. Second book has a little bit of a different structure or approach to it. We're playing with time again, not as perfectly as in the first book, but but the concepts are second book really takes it to another level as well. Yeah, so we have 1 year left, and this is 2022. Once again, this was a year where gaming took up a lot of my time, and I really enjoyed that. And so I've only read like 14 books in 2022. None of them were 5-star, but we have like 2 4-star books, which I really enjoyed. And the runner-up would be Artifact Space by Miles Cameron. Miles Cameron, I'm kind of spoiling the 10 favorite fantasy series video in this one heavily, because Miles Cameron's Traitor Sun cycle, 5-book series, I've read all of them. Hey, yay me! Is one of my favorite series of all time as well, and he has a new science fiction series. I think it's the first series for him. You might know him as Christian Cameron, where he writes historical fiction. But he also dabbles in like SFF, and all of the SFF work is published under Miles Cameron. So Artifact Space is the story of N'Baru, and N'Baru is somebody who wants to work, fly, and live on one of the great ships, great spaceships. But she's like a lowborn, and she can't really get into that, so she tricks her way into that. And so we get like this kind of, a new cadet joins on a spaceship, on a really large spaceship, and we get to meet like the parts of the crew that she interacts with, like learning the camaraderie, learning with her to live on that spaceship, but also we have always the kind of tension that somebody finds out about the way she sneaked into this kind of career with like false documents and things like that, and people from her past that want to yeah, alert the authorities to this. So there is high tension on this kind of personal level, but there's also like high tension on a more, yeah, upper level, because all of a sudden some of the great ships, there are not many of them, and some of them are getting destroyed, and we don't know why. Information is like very scarce, and that is yeah, something that we need to find out. And I really enjoyed that. As I said, Miles Cameron is a top-notch writer, for me always, and so once again I really enjoyed his kind of storytelling there. And the second book in the series comes out, I think, in August, so I'm really looking forward to read this this year as well. So the last and final entry, so the book of 2022, is, I think, a more well-known book. It's Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie. I've talked about Joe Abercrombie before. I really love grimdark fantasy, and I love Joe Abercrombie. You've seen The Heroes being one of the top 5 reads for me in 2023, and I've already started and read like the first chapter of Red Country, and I want to at least read Red Country this year, and then move on to the Age of Madness trilogy. But for the people that don't know Joe Abercrombie very well, it's, like I said, a grimdark author. He's mainly known for his First Law trilogy, and the First Law world, and so far most of his books play in this First Law world. So we have the First Law trilogy, then we have like 3 standalones, Best Served Cold, which is the book we're talking about, The Heroes, and Red Country, and then he did a new trilogy, the Age of Madness trilogy, in the same world. So it's like 9 books, and I think we have a companion like short story thing or novella kind of thing as well, set in the First Law world. And Best Served Cold is the first of the 3 standalone books, and with these standalone books, Joe Abercrombie set out and said, I want to do like a very specific subgenre and integrate that into my fantasy world. So The Heroes is like a very military fantasy. Red Country is more of a western, in like Wild Western fantasy, and Best of Cold is a thriller. And we are following a character who's set on a revenge story, and early on in the books we see the betrayals that actually lead for her being on the revenge train. And it's a pleasure to see how she puts like a crew together, and where she has these like specific targets. She says, okay, these are the people that need to die, and then how she tries to execute that. Execute being the right word in this kind of circumstance, I think. As always with Joe Abercrombie, main and side characters are awesome. It's very humorous, highly entertaining, and so yeah, a well-deserved book of the year in 2022. Although it was like maybe 4.25, it was not a 5-star book for me as The Heroes, but still like highly entertaining and the best book I've read in 2022. So this was quite on the long side, I think, a little bit of a rambly video, but I hope it was enjoyable for you, and that you found maybe some books, some series that you hadn't heard of that sound interesting to you, because that's one of the main reasons I'm doing this, these kind of things, to bring you some like books that might be lesser well known on BookTube SFF. And yeah, so thank you for going on this journey with me. Look forward to more new videos coming up, and I hope that you get bitten by a really good book too. Bye.